You are Locked On Coogs, your daily podcast on the Houston Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thankfully, it's not Corleone or anything like that up front this week, but Houston has two big defensive tackles that are good. So, they're not Corleone level, but they're pretty good. So I think it's going to be tough for us to do that. But Rich Rod's always comes up with ways to at least have some semblance of the run game there to try to help. And I think if West Virginia wins this game, it's going to look like this. Like you said earlier, I think Cam Vaughn's going to be heavily involved. I don't think there's any player in the league that can guard him one-on-one, or very few if there are. So, can you protect Scotty Fox long enough to give Cam Vaughn time to run past whoever it is? Because he's got that Matthew Golden type speed. Like, that's the kind of player he is, right? He's going to run straight by people. So that's what he does. And if he's productive, West Virginia will have a chance. On defense, you just replicate what you did last week against TCU. You'll be in every game that you're in if you're able to do that. Obviously, with Wigman being a more mobile quarterback, it gets trickier. But, and he's also a strong player. It's another thing he doesn't get a lot of credit for. He's strong, tough to bring down. So can West Virginia get to him and prevent him from gaining yards with his legs? I think that's going to be important. So if West Virginia can keep this thing in the 20s anywhere, I think we got a shot.
Well, and it's funny because, I think of Houston's being a relatively low-scoring team because of how they've ball controlled certain games. I would think, though, against a team – look, I don't mean this rude – that just hadn't scored a lot of touchdowns, right? Like, the less touchdowns scored in this game, the more it probably favors a West Virginia. And so that's interesting that you said that. When you think about the defensive side of the football, and now not to just keep going question, interaction is fine too, but is there something that they need to do defensively to slow down the run that they just have done sometimes or not enough, or certain guys need to step up?
Yeah, they just needed to get healthy. Best nose tackle's been hurt for a few weeks now. And if you look at the first 3 weeks of the season, we were a top 15 defense. It's just crazy, including against Pitt. We brought Jamoy Robinson onto the field, which was our crown jewel of the offseason, and he's been a total bust, $1 million bust. That's what he is. I mean, it's just time to be honest about it. Coaches have said he was suspended the first 3 games through the NCAA sanctions, and because they were trying to get him eligible, I guess is a better way to put it. And so and as soon as he stepped on the field after the 3rd week, our defense totally changed. Can't say it's his fault, but it's weird that he didn't play last week and our defense went back to the playing the way it did before he came on the field again. And I don't know if he just, for whatever reason, creates some kind of hole somewhere for us. I don't know. It's never just one player, but I do think that, without him, we just played a lot better. We'll see if we can continue that. Obviously, we have 2 really good corners in Chambers and Coach Jr., and I know that sounds crazy to say that, but we really do have 2 individual good corners. There's just the rest of our defense around them hasn't been great. So they're capable of having good games and everything. I don't know, man. It's a tough question to answer overall because the defense, if it could just go back to the way it was the first 3 weeks of the year when they have 12 sacks in the first 3 games, that would be great. But I don't think they're going to. They just went away.
So in the defensive backfield, I think that is it, I don't know which one you're calling coach there, but is it Jason Chambers, the guy he seems to have the PFF scores, the this, the that, whatever. I'm intrigued by Fred Perry because I think he looks really
good. Oh, yeah,
good.
He's a great player, yeah.
But I don't think he covers Kozio because, let's just be blunt, he's not
Hell
very big.
No. He's
so what do they – I mean, you're on high and low and all that kind of stuff, but it feels like they're really short in the back half, like just actually physically not very tall.
They've got one guy that could probably guard him a little bit, but I don't know where he's – it's tough, right? Like I said, there's just not a lot of height there. Personally, I don't think there's really anybody that's going to be capable of guarding him. For goodness sakes, He's so big. But if there's one guy, no, I don't even think anybody can, to be honest. I'm not even going to put the one guy out there because I don't think he can. This is Kozio's. He's a mismatch. Western, like they asked Coach Alley about it today. Like, what are you going to do against Kozio? And he said that you have to really attack him in the run game. In other words, whenever he's blocking, you've got to make him feel that. You've got to. He said sometimes we may send an extra guy to chip him and just kind of work him down. That way that he's not 100% whenever he's not hurting, but like just be physical with him, right?
Yeah, wear him down.
Yeah.
And I would point out that's also like he left Wisconsin because he didn't want to block as often as Wisconsin was going to ask him to. And he left in the second transfer portal window, like after spring ball. And I think that while we see what that means, and he's got more than 5 catches in all but one game. I think that you see him play out with those strengths, but also you see like, well, that probably means that there was something to that not wanting to block or whatever. I think he's better at it than people act like. It's just like you're saying, it's not what he wants to do, what he's best at necessarily. All right. I want a score prediction though, Paul. I'm obviously gonna.
I've picked against West Virginia for weeks and weeks now. I haven't picked us in a game for like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm picking us this week. I just have a gut feeling that we're going to figure one out. We're surely we can't go an entire year. Maybe it is one of those 2 and 10 years or 3 and 9 years. Everybody has them at some point. We've never really had them. I mean, to be honest, we've always either been mediocre or really good. And that's since I've been alive. But we've never had the upheaval we've had. So anyways, I think West Virginia figures a way to just get the one upset they shouldn't get. We're not better than Houston. I don't think we're better than Houston, but I do think that we are playing well enough and we figured some things out to where it's going to have some things go our way, right? We're probably, I mean, it's so cliche, but we're going to have to get a turnover or two. And we're going to have to be able to, because the way you guys play and the way we play defense, we punch at the ball a lot. I think that's possible. And maybe we can even get a couple 3 and outs on you guys and score early and put some pressure on you guys on a really emotional weekend. I'll say, I'm sorry, 26-20 West Virginia. I'll say, somehow we just hold you guys in some check.
I think that I think if West Virginia gets into the mid-20s, like you're saying, that favors them a lot. I feel this game is going to be Houston just over 30. I think that they've got a couple mismatches to exploit. And then bluntly, I think that you've seen football, like the way that running the football like this can snowball things, right? Those 1 yard gains, those 2 yard gains in the first quarter turn into 4 and 5 yard gains, and you bust one or whatever because they're wearing it down over the course of the game. Because you got, like I said, guys that are injured and you have the backups in, and it's going to be a hot Houston morning and all of that. I think that I'm going to go 31-17. I do think that Cam Vaughn's a matchup problem. I'm going to give him a touchdown in this. And then I think there'll be some sort of a weird defensive touchdown. Like something weird's going to happen because, of course, it will, right? And so that's kind of see the couple scores.
You're wearing the black uniforms.
Yeah, there you go.
Something weird's going to happen.
I did like y'all wore your black uniforms. I like those.
They're really nice. Yeah. So I will say this one more last point before we go. If Scotty Fox somehow gets hurt or dinged or doesn't play, I will tell you guys, I've been saying this all year, and even though a lot of our fans hasn't seen him yet, Max Brown, I really like his arm a lot. He could present some issues because of how much experience he has if he comes into the game. I think they're rolling with Scotty right now because he's just the future and has a lot of upside. But I do think Max Brown can sling it around some. If he comes into the game, just pay attention to that if he gets a shot. I really like him.
Again, they've got so many quarterbacks, it's kind of hard to keep track of who's on first. But he played at Florida or something like that? Am I making that up?
Yeah, he played at Florida.
Anyway, that's all I know.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a ton of ability. It's you don't go to Florida if you're bad, obviously. But he transferred to Charlotte, and I talked to him about it. He said he had to try to play hero ball on a team with not very many good players and threw a bunch of picks. He was just trying to force things in, trying to be hero every week. They were a really bad team. It happens. But, um, I'm not saying he's an elite player, but he has a very good arm. Obviously, like I said, he went to Florida for a reason. And I think if it comes down to passing the ball, he'd probably be a little more effective than Scotty just because he's been in that situation more. Not that he's a better player necessarily. I just think the last time we saw Scotty on the road, it was very, very catastrophic. So we're kind of hoping that he's grown in the little time that he's, hopefully he turns into what Rich Rod thinks he can be because we need him to. But it's been fun talking with you, man.
Yeah, good talk some ball. Gotta love the crossover times.
Yep. Guys, don't forget to like the video, please. Subscribe if you're new. We're on either show, Locked On Cougs or Locked On West Virginia. And absolutely, positively don't forget to just come back every day. That's what we appreciate from you guys. And thanks for sticking around for 43 minutes and listening to us two old guys talk about football. We will be back every day with our respective programs. Basketball season's approaching, and definitely excited about that, as I know Parker is. And until then, guys, what is your all's thing that you say?
We have a go Coogs. Go Coogs.
Go Cougs. Okay, well, for Parker, it's go Cougs. For us, don't forget to cue them country roads. Locked On Big 12, your second listen, though, by the way, guys. Drake Toll killing it right now. Make sure you check out Locked On Big 12, and we'll see you on the next one. Good night.